bamboo flute is designed to encapsulate the ethos and workflow of an Insanity Samples library, with all of the bells and whistles of our flagship libraries. With our overlay threshold functionality sitting front and center, a series of inspired and interesting extended articulation techniques from the standard kind of expressive long staccato staccatissimo through to the more nuanced and extended and interesting performance techniques like flutter tongue, or the erratic flutter tongues where we have harmonics creeping through, overblowing where again harmonics play a huge part, as well as the overblowing double where we get kind of a more erratic start to the overblow, then the note, and then the overblowing coming back in again. It's a really interesting and creativity inspiring instrument, and of course, best of all, it is completely free. So we have the true legato, which is fully adaptive to fast and slow, and adaptive to either the speed or velocity that you are playing. Let's take a quick look at the interface, and you can see that we have our standard overlay functionality here, where we can slot in any one of the sounds on offer into any segment of the velocity that you are choosing to play within. So, for example, if we played very, very quietly, we would access the trills, which are scale linkable. So we can link this to any key we want. Let's say we're in C major here. So we'll now lock to that key. And if I played a B, for example, I would get a semitone trill, because that is the way the key works. Really beautiful. As you can hear, they're performance trills, so we kind of have a start and an end, and there's a story to every single note. A vein that you'll find running through all of our creations, really. Okay, let's switch to key switching mode. Here we can choose to either cycle through articulations on screen, where only one articulation will be on offer at a time. We can also use the appropriate key switches on our keyboard. If you're in overlaying mode, these key switches become velocity sensitive. So everything below 60 will engage the key switch, and everything above will turn it off. Just worth knowing that. So back to key switching, and let's listen to expressive longs. Really beautiful. So as you can hear, there's a story in there as well. We start off with kind of a non-vib. As the dynamic grows, the vibrato kind of grows with it, and then everything dissipates towards the end of the breath. So just a really natural, nuanced and human sound here. Worth noting before we move on from here that everything in the green on the keybed is the recorded range. This is the actual range of the instrument, which starts at the A above middle C and then goes up around an octave and a half above that. Then everything in the kind of mustard yellow is an extended range. Of course, as this extends in short distances, it still sounds very natural, and it just kind of helps to expand the range of the instrument. But as you get into the lower range, you start becoming almost sound design aesthetic, and it becomes very interesting indeed. If we head down to just kind of the C below the A, it still sounds pretty natural. Get below that and choose something like the overblowing, and we suddenly enter an entirely different sound aesthetic. Really interesting. And now the overblowing in the natural instruments range. Such an awesome texture. If we turn off true legato here, we can hit some harmonies up, and that sounds really interesting. Love it. It's very cool. Now the overblowing double, this becomes slightly more chaotic as we get the overblowing happening at the beginning and the end of the note. I love that so much. It's really great. Okay, on to Flutter Tongue. Super cool texture. Okay, Flutter Tongue Erratic. Another awesome texture there. And as you hear, as you leave the natural range and into the pitch shifting, you get this kind of slower, brooding sound that can become incredibly sound designy in the really lower register. It's a really cool sound. I love that. Okay, on to the turns. Now the turns up and down and the trills are all linked to the scale link. This can be set to semitones, to whole tones, or you can choose a key center. So if we chose C major for now, we can also override these at any point with E and F. And what will happen here is this is temporal. So as we hold these notes down, we can link it to a semitone or we can link it to a whole tone. And then when we let go, we'll snap back to the key that we started in, which is of course very useful if you want to modulate briefly from a key and then return back to the key you were in. That's kind of your route into doing that. So let's take a listen. So if I was to play a B here, we would get a minor third. A really beautiful performance within these notes as well. Every sample was again its own natural little performance. And if I was to play a C, I'd get a major. And that of course works all the way up the entire scale. Really beautiful. Now on to turns down. As you can hear, adapting nicely to the key of C major there. So on to the ornaments. This is a kind of drop down from a fifth, which is a sharp drop to the note you're playing. Great. Now the sforzato. Very cool. Let's turn that delay off so we can hear how that snaps. Great. Now staccatos, as is the case in most of our libraries, staccatos are short notes, but they still have a lot of body to them. They still have a lot of character. Designed to kind of be stopped long notes with this little kind of vibrato tail off, just some character. And now the staccatissimo. Very cool. And the trills. Again, adaptive to key. So if I was to play a B here within the key of C, it's going to be a semitone trill. And a really lovely journey the trill takes you on as well. We kind of get a build of speed as the trill kind of grows in emphasis, and then it dies off into just holding the note still. If I played a C, I would get a whole tone trill. So we can override that, of course, with our temporal overrides and change that to a semitone. Okay, so the instrument comes with two kind of pre-baked performance modes that can be changed to anything you want. You can put any of these sounds in, and then you could go on and save your own snapshots, of course, but they're just two starting points that get the job done initially. Performance mode 1 is a more simplistic approach to this instrument with mainly expressive longs with some trills in the lower end. So if you were playing a phrase, you hear how I dipped into trills there. I actually also dipped briefly into one of the ornamental sounds as well, just by the way I was playing through virtue of the velocity that I was hitting. If I hit hard, I will get those turns. Just really easy to play. As you can see, it's just effortless. You just kind of perform and it will happen for you. Okay, on to performance mode 2, sorry. This is more in depth and slightly more complicated. There's more to go wrong here, really. But once you get used to your performance and the way you play, you can set this engine up to suit your particular velocity inputs. So we have some flutter tongues we can pick up on here. We have some expressive longs. The ornaments are in there, the overblowing. So if I hit hard, I'll get some overblowing. Very cool. Again, very adaptive and just natural. Onto the effects page then, we have our basic stereo, delay, reverb. This is kind of the 99% setup for our instruments. So we have some stereo modeling that can widen the sound. A basic delay here that is tempo synced to your project with some feedback controls and all the rest. And then a reverb with everything you'd expect. A pre-delay, size mix, and a selection of convolution reverbs on offer. Okay, that has been the Bamboo Flute Expressive World Flute, a freebie, which is the first of its kind from Insanity Samples, designed to introduce you to the world of Insanity Samples, how our ecosystem functions, and the fun you can have with our overlay threshold technology that takes your performance control, that takes your musicianship, and puts it at the forefront of your interaction with our libraries. Head to insanitysamples.com for more information, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.